Okay, so as you can see, I don't have artwork behind my couch anymore. And that is because I was trying to switch out one of the prints in one of the floating frames and it crashed to the floor. And, I had a couple and I was thinking, I got them at Michael's and I was like, should I just go get another one or should I actually consider sort of like, professionally framing some of my pieces? Because since I've not been accepted into a lot of like art shows, I always wonder, it's like, is it the framing? You really just never know. Maybe it's not a good fit for the show. That's what I sort of tell myself. But at the same time, I do feel like when they say, it should be framed for the show, maybe they're really looking at people that already have done that work because there are a lot of choices that go into it. But anyway, the actual sort of idea of framing work got me to actually choose three portraits that I want to have behind the couch. So I wanted to share them because they're all a part of a series that I call it's Hour Long Blues. And this is kind of the first one that, basically got this style going. And just to give you a little bit of context in terms of like the materials used. So I basically do sustainable mixed media, pretty much in general. So it's interesting because these were kind of like one of the first few prints that I worked on at Oolite Arts print shop in 2019 or like December 2019 or January 2020. I'm not really sure exactly the date, but I know that it was in those 2 months. I actually just took some Publix paper bags. I cut them up because I really just loved spending time at the print shop. And this is literally just, a stock photo of a neon sign that said, "You are here." And I just kind of was in the zone. I liked kind of a lot of the marks that it was making, but I never looked at this and thought that this was kind of like a work of art. I just thought it was like cool. So I sort of kept it with a lot of my, artwork that I always keep because part of the sustainable practice, I always just like to jump into scraps and old things and, layer new things onto them. And so this is another one of the portraits from that series that sort of illustrates that. And so basically what I would do for these portraits was just I would sit down at the table, clear my mind. I just had one of these in front of me, and then I had my bag of, mixed media tools. I don't know what you would call like all of but it's compressed charcoal, it's pastels. And so basically things that I could sort of use together and basically create the portrait layer. And so as you can see, this one is a little bit less abstract, and that is sort of the trajectory of this series. If you compare it here I have a lot more sort of like, whimsical lines, and I use a lot more of the white, which I sort of start phasing out. You could sort of see in this one, I just have very light abstract white marks on the face and on the outside. And then this is the last one that I worked on last year. And again, it goes a little bit more into the direction, I wouldn't necessarily say realistic, but I would say it's a little bit more of a contained form with, natural colors. And that's what I kind of really liked. I found sort of pastels that really blended with the background color of the paper bag. And that sort of allowed me to create highlights and stuff like that in sort of the same sort of color and tone of the bag. So it almost looks like, it belongs, and it also almost like just has like an old timey type feel. And so I feel like these, really represent my art very well. And it's like, since I do spend a lot of time doing social media with these in the background, I just kind of wouldn't mind seeing them more. These have been like stuffed in my closet since pretty much I made them. So I'm gonna sort of like break them free and maybe just have them framed, behind the couch, and hopefully maybe, start applying to more art shows and stuff like that and see if we get anywhere with that.